Hi there folks, and welcome to this episode of Michael's Backyard Marina. You've seen this outboard before out on the water. It's in some of my ending videos, my drone footage. Quite a bit of that lately. It's been a really good motor other than the gearbox. Now if you guys watch the gearbox video, you're going to love this, I think. I got the gearbox back together. I haven't put it back on here yet. I'm going to do that in this video. Only going to take me a few minutes to put that back together. And we're going to make a modification up here. Two things I haven't touched on this motor to make it absolutely what I'd call perfect. I haven't done the points. You might have saw me in one video where I actually took the 400 grit sandpaper and I sanded them to get spark. But that got me by. But the real fix, you know, you can sand points all you want. Nothing beats a fresh set of points. These points I ordered from marineengine.com. They don't sponsor me. By golly, I wish they would. But I've got a set of points for them and a pair of points, two points. I guess they're a pair. I don't know how you want to call it. A set of points has one set of clickers, right? And I got two of those, and I got two condensers. So I'm going to replace those in this video as well. I've also got a thermostat and a bag of elbows that are 1/8 inch pipe with a hose barb on the end. That is a 3/16 hose barb for a 3/16 hose. I'll show you what I'm going to do with that. These old outboards don't have the telltale pee hole. And they basically just blubber water out with some of the exhaust just above the water line, so you can see water blubbering out of there. And that's fine and dandy. But if you want to put a pee hole on one of these older outboards, I'm going to show you how to do it. Now, I'll give credit where credit is due. I follow one of the YouTubers called Cody Bass along with this old outboard. Cody Bass was the first one that I stumbled onto that I saw do this, and I watched how he did it. I'm going to do it similar, but not the same. Now, if he watches my video and goes, no, this is why I did it this way and not your way, that's fine. I'm going to do it this way and see if it works. And if it works, why, this is going to be what I would call actually a little bit easier and less, I don't know, what do you want to call it? Less grinding and fiddling around to get that tap to work well in your aluminum piece. And I'll show you why here in a minute. Now, another person I want to thank is James Smith. Now, as lo and behold, he sends me 3 manuals, and one of them happens to be a 1969 Evinrude service manual. This is a 1969 Johnson 20 horse. This is a fast twin 18 horse. Honestly, if you set them side by side and painted them the same color, you would struggle to know which was which. They're almost identical. So there's some really good information in here. This is a very detailed manual, and like I said, James Smith, thank you very much. I've been putting this to use, and it's I'm educating myself more and more every day. It's like I said, it's very detailed, and I'm going to show you why I'm going to do what I'm going to do with the telltale pee hole. Without further ado, let's jump in and show you what I'm going to do. First thing we're going to do is take a 7/16 socket, and we're going to break these loose. This is your thermostat cover. Step 2, put your screws in a secure place so you don't drop them and lose them. Now we're going to have to pop this cover off. And it may be a little tight. Now what I did order is a new thermostat gasket and a new thermostat because I have no idea how old this one is. I'm going to take a little screwdriver here that I use just for pounding on. Kind of go in here in the gasket area and there we go. While I have this thermostat in here, I'm just going to go ahead and take a little utility knife here and kind of give this a little scrape just to get the old gasket off. Now we're just going to lift that old thermostat out of there. There you go. It's not much to it. Now, if you're going to order this from marineengine.com, all the links will be in the description below. But this is a 310058. That's a gasket, a rubber gasket, if you will, that goes around the top of this. And that'll be put on with the fluffy side, I don't know what you want to call it, the little extra side here, down where it's more smooth on top, because this will reside right there like that. Alright folks, now here's why I find this book very valuable for this information I'm about to show you on the circulation of your coolant through your outboard. Now in the thermostat area right here, there are two holes that are below the thermostat itself. So here's the circulation. I'm going to use my pointer here and show you. Here's your water pump pickup tube. Comes up into your water pump. Comes up, 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 and your fluid's going to flow fastest in a straight line, right? But there's a 90 right here where it turns and goes back down in here and goes up and around the cylinder and plays around in there for a while until your thermostat opens up. And then once your thermostat opens up, the water is allowed to pass the rest of the way through the system, keeping this water jackets around your cylinder head cold. So the cool part is your initial water coming up, making sure your pump's pumping, is ended right here at the top of your thermostat housing. And this is called a bypass. And this is an exhaust cooling chamber, they're calling it, because it's got fresh cold water coming up and cooling your exhaust chamber. Well, then it runs up and around on top of the thermostat, and then down, around, and out. And that's where you see the blubbery water coming out, is basically what's basically bypassing, I believe, up above the thermostat here. And I think if that is correct. You guys please correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, I've got a great picture here. Freeze your screen, put some highlights on it or something, sketch it up, show me what I'm talking about that's wrong. But I feel that putting it right up here, I'm going to show you where I'm going to put this pee hole anyway, and you tell me if I'm all wet, pun intended. But yeah, the water comes in, you watch the little arrows, goes down around, these little arrows go right here. And then point here, when this thermostat opens up, they come over and out and dumps. So that'll keep cold water coming in, hot water going out when the thermostat opens up as needed. Okay? So I thought this picture was worth 1,000 words for sure. And I went nowhere near 1,000 words, but this is where I'm coming up with what I'm going to be doing is okay in comparison to what somebody else has done. So here, under the thermostat housing, the thermostat itself, there's a hole right here near the top, and there's a hole right here at the very bottom. Now, I could possibly fire this thing up and watch some of the water flow maybe and make a mess out of things, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to take the book at its word. So, what Cody Bass did, and like I said, I'm going to give credit where credit's due, which gave me this idea, is he's going through this area right here, which is over this area right here. Now, the interesting thing about that, that seems like a great spot because there seems to be a hole there for things to bypass through. Because as you can see here, this thing has got an area here where water can come in and water can come out right here on this plate. Make sure I'm getting that in the shot. So yeah, water can come in here and out through here and bypass, right? So this whole area is a bypass area. So instead of putting it right here, drilling and tapping my 1/8 inch pipe, where I'd have to contend with the rib and things not seating as well or tapping as straight and nice as I'd like them to, with that, having to battle that, I could do it. That's not a problem. I don't want to do it. Especially when I got all this wide open acreage right here, that I don't have to worry about a gasket. I don't have to worry about the brass pieces sticking a little bit below flush. None of that stuff. So, you know, looking at right here, you know, the logical spot says, let's put it right there. Let's drill and tap a hole right there and put our pee hole, telltale hose, elbow and hose right there. Why not? So that's what I'm going to do. And that's the reason I'm going to do it. Now, I am not recommending anybody to do this. If you're timid, don't feel like you want to take a risk on wrecking your motor, don't do it. I'm going to do it because I want to learn if it works. And just watching what Cody Bass did, yes, it works. whether it's here or here, I'm thinking is pretty much immaterial, because when this thermostat is shut, it's coming around and passing and going there anyway. Why not catch it here versus there? Now, you could argue the point that, well, you might be robbing some of the flow when the thermostat does open, robbing some of the flow here for your pee hole instead of letting it go through the engine. I think the pump pumps enough water that that's not going to be an issue. I'll be honest with you. So here I have an 1/8 inch 27 pipe tap and drill kit. I ordered this off Amazon. The link will be in the description below. Here I have an 1/8 inch pipe thread elbow that I will screw right into here, and I'll be able to take that hose and run it wherever I want. I'm probably going to run it in this direction so I can come down out the housing down below here and just let the hose hang, and I can see the water flow in there. The cool part about that is I will always know if my pump is pumping immediately. If I see water come out of there, I know my pump is pumping. If my engine gets hot, it'll be because the thermostat's not doing what it's supposed to be doing, is my theory, right? And I got a thermal gun. We'll run this in the tank, and we'll make sure that this doesn't create an overheating situation. Everybody with me so far? Cool. Without being said, let's go over and drill and tap a hole into here. I'm going to show you how I'm going to do that. We'll install the elbow and the hose and the new gasket, and we'll tighten this back down. Because of this raised area on the back, and I'm going to be drilling off centered, I'm going to go ahead and cheat a little bit. I'm going to put a little wood screw right here. That'll hold that nice and secure while I do my drilling. Let's go ahead and remove our drill bit from the package. This Century drill and tool is the company, high carbon precision cut thread. This is a nice looking drill bit. It's a split point, which those actually do a nice job. I might have to lower my table down just a little bit, or maybe I won't. I'll just choke up on it a little bit. We should be fine. Choking up a drill bit up onto the flutes is not recommended, but I'm also doing very light drilling here. I drilled through really easy. This metal is not very thick at all. Also, for what we're doing, we're not going to be using that much pressure. Now I'm just reattaching it here to hold it so I can tap the thing. Now, as a general rule on pipe threads, on most of the ones I've dealt with, unless they're kind of a unique tap of some sort, typically the proper depth to go when you're tapping these is about 6 threads from the top will give you proper depth. Now, I would recommend going just a little shy of that, and then we'll try the part in the thread, and if it fits, we'll stop. If we want to go deeper, we can go deeper. Once you go too far, it's really hard to back that train up. Now I have a tap driver. You can use a T-handle, you can use a crescent wrench, anything that you want to that you can control and keep on a straight perpendicular trajectory here. I'm looking at it, eyeballing here to see if I'm perpendicular to the top. So far it's looking pretty good. I'm just going to give it just a little squirt of some WD here, just to make it so it cuts a little nicer. You can use whatever tapping fluid you're normally wanting to use or cutting oil. Something is better than nothing. So now, as you can see, I'm through, but this is a tapered tap. So the deeper I go, the bigger the hole's going to get. So I'm going to go ahead and go on through a little ways. We'll stop about right there. I'll blow it off. Well, I'm glad it didn't go any deeper. Right there is just about using all my threads, and I stayed up a little ways. And it is sticking through a little bit, but I think it'll be fine. Now I'm going to put a little thread tape on this pipe thread, just to take up any little imperfections that I might have created from the threading process. You want to make sure you're not covering the hole. As you can see, this is going to set on here like this, so I'm going to thread this in. Now I can see one reason Cody Bass would put it here. You probably have maybe a third more material right here than you have over here, but I think it'll be fine. This isn't like this is exposed to a lot of pressure. So we're going to go ahead and put this in like that, and I want this pointing actually this direction. So I'm going to see if I can go around till I get that. Oh yeah, that's perfect. There we go. Now this is sticking through a ways on the bottom, but there's also a pretty good sized cavity here. So it's going to actually let it bypass first. This would be a secondary area for it to come out. So if it's coming out here, it's for sure coming out the other direction. Now this is a fairly healthy gasket. And you guys know me, I like to let gaskets do their job. Here's another interesting thing about this. If you were going to use this, you'd have to poke a hole in the gasket to do it with if you did it in this area versus this area. So this will work just fine. Now, I don't normally use any kind of a gasket maker or anything like that, but I do like this aviation forma gasket sealant compound. And here again, I use this very sparingly. Just enough to get the surface covered in a very thin layer. All I'm doing, the gasket takes up all your imperfections. It's supposed to. Plus this is going to be sitting for a day or two before I fire it up anyway, just because all the things going on in my life right now. So we're going to stick that right on there like that. And that way nothing, you can see nothing's running on the inside, which is what I want. I don't want a bunch of goo inside there screwing up my thermostat. Here again, I'm just going to Bob Ross it a little bit here. Just a happy little gasket. Just barely dabbing the brush. You get a happy little bit of sealant going on over here. Happy little sealant. There. That's like nice, clean, and neat. It's nice, it's clean, and it's neat. It's all those things. And just like that, we made the conversion. Click, 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 properly torqued. All right. Now, isn't that a clean, low-profile job there? Let's get us a hose here and figure out where I want to drill this hole. Because I think I want to drill the hole coming out the side so I can see it shooting out to the side. What do you guys think? Now I've got some of this 3/16 fuel line. I'm just going to use it because I've got plenty of it. I'm going to shove it all the way back up against there. And then we'll cut this off just to start with right here. Might waste a little bit, but I can actually run that down, around, and through there. I think we'll see how the cover lays on here. I'm going to go ahead and set the hood back on here just so I can get an idea where I plan on drilling this hole. Is it going to interfere with anything else? Yeah, it looks like I can go anywhere above that line. Should work just fine. Now, the outside of this hose measures about 5/16. So I think a 5/16 hole would do a beautiful job on holding that nice and secure, so I can run this out. I can even go down between a spark plug wire if I want to. We'll see. I probably won't. I think I'll go somewhere down in here. Yeah, I can keep it down low. Kind of make sure it doesn't interfere with anything here. I could also just come clear over here and come through. All those things, all those options will work. I think I'm going to come clear around over here. So that'll be straight out of the side then. Boy, isn't that slick? Now it's kind of curling the wrong way, but I think if I roll this around, so I can make the curl go down. And I'm going to leave it down like this for now while I got my test tank. Then I may shorten it up and put it like right here in order to make it shoot more to the side so it's more visible. All right, I like that. That turned out well. Do a little deburr in action here to make sure there's no sharp edges. To start slicing and dicing my hose while vibration ensues. Oh, clean and beautiful. Yeah, that'll look a lot nicer once I cut it off, but I don't want to, in my test tank, I don't want it blowing out on top when I can have it just easily angle down, but then I can cut it off there anytime. I think up top here, though, I'm going to put a little zip tie. That doesn't come off that bar, but it's holding pretty good. All right, we're going to get after removing this cover. Takes a little 3/8 socket. And those 3 screws right there, and that lifts right off. And we'll back the old flywheel nut off. Next, we'll take the old puller, and don't use anything other than a puller to try to take this flywheel off. If you try to pry on it and hit the center with a hammer, all you're going to do is just mess things up. I've seen somewhere, looks like somebody did that, and they actually ended up cracking the flywheel. You don't want that either. Best off, you don't have a puller, just go buy one. You'll save yourself a lot of headaches in the long run. Just that easy. Bada boom, bada bing. There's your points. All right, again, I'm giving you guys a bird's eye view of this thing so you can look straight down on here to see what I'm doing. I'm hoping my hand doesn't block too much of what's going on. First thing I'm going to do is go ahead and take these condensers out. So you got one screw here that holds the condensers in place, because I did order new condensers and new points for this machine. And then you got one screw on the side here that connects the wire of the condenser to the points. That part's pretty straightforward. And we'll take that screw out as well. I'm going to go ahead and pull the points out on both sides. I guess I should say I'm pulling the condenser out on both sides. Don't lose your screws. Once we got that loose, we're going to go ahead and pull the points out, which is this screw right here, and there's another screw right here. And once you take those loose, we'll get a little beefier screwdriver here. There we go. Broke that loose. There we go. Make sure you got a really nice pair of little needle nose pliers. There's a little clip right here. And there's one right on top of that one too. You want to see if you can get a hold of that. Let's take our little hook pick here. And just like that, it disappeared. Oh boy, I dropped it. Why? Found it. Miracle. The other one's under here somewhere. Now with that out of the way, there's a little clip on the side here. If you pull that off, it does make life a little easier. So I pulled that off. What that does for me is it lets these two pieces separate from one another so they don't have to come off together. There. Now that's free. And that's free. Contact surface here and here. You know, they're not the prettiest shape. You can kind of see as I roll it around, see some of the white ashy look to it. That's the burned up areas. Same way on this one. You can see here and here. You can see the burned up spots on them. That could interfere with your contact and letting electricity pass through them, which can inhibit your spark. That's why sanding them will last for a little bit, but does not last forever. Now you're going to see right here there's a little felt wiper that runs on the cam. It has lubricant in it, and in order to replace that, you have to back this one coil off, or one pickup coil off. With those removed, I can kind of lift this out of the way. Don't move it too far because you got your spark plug wire connected underneath there. You should be able to lift off that little joker just like that. And with your points kit, if it's a good points kit, it'll come with a new felt already pre-lubed, so don't put any lube in it, ready to go back on. You can see it here in my kit. There's a little felt jobber do right there. So we'll stick that little felt piece right back in there. Just like that. So that should lay in there, up against there just like that. Once that's done, you can set your pickup coil back in place and tighten down, put it back together. Now before you tighten these 3 screws down, I've got them down there all started. They're just about bottomed out, but not quite. You want to make sure this surface right here is flush with that surface right there. Now there is a thing called a setting ring that I think you can purchase. I don't know where you can purchase it. I don't have one. But I just make sure that this right there, this green part, don't stick out past the machined part. Because if it does, it'll rub on your flywheel and cause you some issues you don't want to have. So I get those bumped into place, tighten that down, and tighten down my Phillips. Then I'll tighten down my 2 slots. But it's a lot of work to replace that little felt. I shouldn't say a lot of work. It's just you got to pay attention to this. You don't want to mess this part up. Otherwise, it might ruin your night or your day or your next trip out on the water. All right, we're going to start installing our points. As you can see, I've got this side installed, not adjusted, but installed with my new condenser. To put your points on, I like to hold them together like this. I found that to be the easiest way for myself. You guys will have to come up with your own technique. But that way, you can kind of slide everything down and around. Into place like this. It's easy as pie right there, right? So you got the points slid together, down. Try not to touch your contact faces with your fingers or anything oily or greasy. Next, you're going to install this little clip. And this little clip will be installed with a detent here toward the back, because there's a hole back here on the back side of your plate that will click into. And what you're looking for on the back side over here is you'll see that should lay flush pretty much back there, and that traps and holds that spring in place. Don't forget your little clip right here. We'll push that back in place. A good points kit will come with this being brand new. That's slipped in place. Now your points are trapped down, just like you need them to be, right? Let's go ahead and install our condenser. It sits right down that little pocket. The one little screw here. Now we'll put there's one screw back here we need to install. That's right down in this area right here. That holds your points down. Now you want to put this screw in, but don't tighten it completely down yet. Just bring it down until it touches. It has a little bit of snugness to it, but not much. Just like I said, we're going to be adjusting the points. Once the points are adjusted, then we'll do a little final tightening on that screw. Now we'll gather our 3 wires here with our last screw that we have. Put them through the eyelets here and screw it down to the hole that's provided in there. And you can go ahead and tighten this screw down. Now I'm going to go ahead and put my nut on top of the crankshaft here. We're going to use this to be able to rotate the motor. Now I've rotated this around. to where it says top right here. We'll get you around the other side here. Right here it says top. You want to be in this section right here because that's the maximum opening. That's where your points are supposed to open. Once you got it set on top, and where it's making contact here is right here on this end of the points, where it has a little fiber piece that rubs against the points cam. And that should be maximum opening right there in the top zone. At that point in time, we're going to open up this. We're supposed to have this gap right here at 20 thousandths. Okay, once you got your points installed, you can use this little cam screw here to adjust your points. Now I found that not all cam screws are created equal. I had to sand on this one just a little bit to get enough adjustment there. But you want to have it so that your 20 thousandths feeler gauge will just slip in there, no bind. It's a tiny bit of drag, but no moving the points. And then you've got your 20 thou. You do that on both sides. While this is on top, you got to make sure this area right here is on top, and you'll have your points gap and your timing should all be good. Alrighty, we've got the flywheel on and torqued, and we've got the starter housing put back on. It's time to put that gearbox back on.
2 of the videos out of the 3 are yours.
Boom. See, that's how you got.
Yeah, that's just smooth.
Yeah, there is no shift shaft adjustment on these at all. They're designed to be where they're at.
Insulate.
Been there before. That doggy spot at like 5 miles an hour, just kind of didn't want to run through. I'm hoping these points were pretty burned. I only sanded them to get spark, and that's what I was running on, is sanded points, you know. Alright folks, I know it's noisy out here, but this microphone usually works pretty good with noise either way, but as you can see here, our telltale P-hole is working just fine. We got no leaks anywhere up here. All this is dry, no leaks. We're going to check the temperature. We're letting it run for a while. We're going to get up the temperature, make sure we're holding about 145 degrees. That's what the new thermostat is supposed to hold it at. But about 3 or 4 pulls, she fired right up. Like an old pop start. All right, folks, there you have it. This video is primarily about installing the P-hole, which seems to work fantastic. It's a good telltale here, and installing new points on this thing. We did put the new gearbox on. I shouldn't say new gearbox. Gearbox gears that I found in another good lower gearbox. Got that all back together. Everything seems to work perfectly good. I'm going to take this out in the water. I'm going to do a good run-in on it. Usually we end up with about anywhere from 15 to 18 miles on the lake on the run we do. And if this gearbox, I'm going to get back home, I'm going to check it to see if that gear oil is clear or jet black again to determine whether this goes on the market for sale or I just can't pass something along to somebody that's going to fail them. But you saw it in the test tank. Starts, runs good. Everything pumps good. I did shorten up the hose now, and I got it sort of shoot straight sideways, so there's got to be no missing it. I pull up next to another boat. I'm going to pee all over it, that's for darn sure. If I turn it too sharp, I might pee in my own boat. And that's kind of ridiculous, ain't it? But anyway, you guys get out there and have some fun. If it ain't broke, fix it till it is. This is Michael saying, get out there and have some fun, and I'm out.